Every time you start a new Claude Code session, it starts completely blank. No memory of what you did yesterday, no memory of what your project is, so you just spend the first 5 minutes catching up. Here's the 3-part setup that I used to fix that. And beyond fixing it, it made Claude Code more reliable in more ways than I expected. 3 pieces. First, the Superpowers plugin, which I use to stress test every new idea I have in Claude. Second, a claude.md file, which loads my whole business context automatically at the start of every session. And third, a slash command called /prime, which gets Claude briefed in about 10 seconds. Each one takes about 5 minutes to set up, and together they've changed how much I trust what comes out of Claude Code. Imagine hiring the best contractor you've ever worked with. Sharp, fast, gets your ideas immediately, but imagine every single morning they come to work and they have no memory of yesterday. What project are we on? What did we decide last time? What context do we need here? And that's a cold Claude Code session. Claude without context gives generic answers, and generic answers produce systems that miss some of the specifics to your situation. And the systems that miss your specifics are the ones that tend to hit edge cases and break down when it comes to production. The 3 pieces that I'm about to show you exist to stop that happening. The first piece is a plugin called Superpowers. Think of it like an app store for Claude Code. Instead of Claude just being a general assistant, you can give it specific skills that you need on demand. Skills for debugging, writing, planning, or in this case, giving it a skill to think through things clearly before you start building. The skill that I use the most is called brainstorming. Whenever I have a new idea for a system I want to build, I run it through this skill first. It starts asking questions. What are the edge cases? What happens if an API goes down? What does failure look like on the user side? Think of it like having a senior developer who sits next to you with a whiteboard before anyone starts to build anything. They review the idea, they push back on parts that don't make sense, and they ask the questions that you didn't even think to ask. Except this one's available to you as soon as you get the idea. It never gets tired, and it never skips the awkward questions just to be polite. I caught a real production issue this way on a workflow that I was working on for a client. A failure mode that I hadn't considered, and if it had gone live, it would have been really embarrassing. To set this up, it only takes 30 seconds, and I'll show you how to do that at the end. The second piece is a file called claude.md. Claude reads it at the start of every session. You don't have to reference it, it does it all automatically. Think of it like handing a new employee an onboarding document on their first day. Everything you need to know about the world. Who you are, what your business does, how you like to operate, what your priorities are, what you're working towards. Except this employee reads it perfectly every time and never forgets a word. The third piece is a slash command called /prime. Pilots don't wing a pre-flight check even if they've flown that route 100 times before. They run through the same checklist every single time. Not because they've forgotten, because that's what makes it reliable. /prime is that checklist for every Claude Code session. I run it at the start of every session. It reads the claude.md file, has a look what's currently in progress, and it gets fully briefed, all in about 10 seconds. Every session starts the same way, and because it starts the same way is what makes sure that I get consistent outputs all the time. This matters more than it sounds, because without it, the quality just varies all the time depending on how well you've briefed Claude at the start of every session. With it, the quality is stable, and that's exactly what you need when you're working with a real client. The productivity gain from this is real, but what I value the most is the trust. When I ship something to a client, it goes through a full process. The brainstorming skill caught any edge cases before anything was built. The claude.md context made every decision specific to that business. And the /prime command kept everything consistent every time. That's not accidental, that's the setup doing its job. Here's how you're going to set this up within 15 minutes. So what I want you to do is create a new workspace in a random folder. So here I've named it JD, and I want you to boot up a new Claude Code terminal. And what that will do, it'll open up a new terminal so that we can work in. Step 1 is to install the Superpowers skill. And all you do to do that is copy and paste this plugin here. I've already installed this skill, so I'm not going to go through that process again, but all you have to do is press enter as soon as you've pasted that in the terminal, and it should install for you. Step 2 is to create a claude.md file within your workspace, which basically just gives the workspace a context over your whole business. To do that, I'm just going to ask the terminal to create me that claude.md file and just leave it blank for now. Hey Claude, can you create me a claude.md file, please? If you go to the link in the description, I'm going to provide this file template for you, and all you have to do is fill it out with your business information and whatever you want it to know about your business. So I suggest with starting small, and then we just build it up on top of that. The final thing I want you to do is create a command file path, and this is where the /prime command is going to sit. And all you have to do for this is just ask the Claude Code terminal to do it for you. So if you just tell the Claude Code terminal like this, it should build you the folder straight away. Once that folder has been created, I just want you to go here, add a new file and call it prime.md. And this will open up a new file, and then again, I'm going to provide this to you in the description. You just paste this file and then you have the /prime command within your workspace. The next time you boot up a Claude Code terminal, all you have to do is type in the /prime command, and then your workspace is fully briefed on your project and what you want to do with it. Try this before your next Claude Code session. 15 minutes, 3 files, see if it changes how the session goes. If it does, you'll never go back.